coming up on Not the End, NDE.
The memories are very scattered in this part, but what I do remember is the peaceful darkness. It was like being swaddled in darkness, and I had gone through so many cancer treatments at this point, and I was in so much pain. I mean, pain where I was begging God to take me. And I just felt like so good because I didn't have a body. It was just, it felt like it was just my mind, but it's my soul. I was still there.
Many have died and returned to tell of their near-death experiences. Their incredible stories reveal to the living that this is not the end.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Dean, and I had a near-death experience at 14 years old from a nearly fatal reaction to my chemotherapy used to treat leukemia that I was diagnosed with at 13. This was 1995, and the treatments were very aggressive and they were very experimental. So they didn't really know exactly what they were doing, and I was getting chemotherapy injected into my spinal fluid like every week. I remember it was a spinal tap and a bone marrow test. And they were taking spinal fluid plus putting chemotherapy in my spinal fluid just in case there was any cancer cells that crossed through the blood-brain barrier or through my, cerebral spinal fluid, it wouldn't get to my brain. So there was a reason they were doing that. But, one day I ended up having a severe reaction to this chemotherapy, and I will never forget it. I was wheeled down to radiology with my mom, and I was sitting there and I was sitting with my mom, and all of a sudden I was like the next patient to go in to get my radiation treatments. And this would have been the first round of radiation. And I was told, I had tattoos because they have to do it so precisely. So especially with the brain, but with radiation in general, they'll tattoo where they have to set up the sites. And I had tattoos ready to roll. And I'm sitting with my mom, and all of a sudden I couldn't hold my head up. And then my arm went and my leg. So my whole left side went out. And I said to my mom, who was a home health aide for years, I said, I don't feel good, something's wrong. And she looked at me and said my mouth was drooping and she thought I was having a stroke. So she went to the nurse that was at the desk in the radiology department, and they rushed me back to my hospital room, which I don't even remember that. My mom says that the doctor kept saying he was so sorry, because he didn't know what was happening, but clearly it was probably something from the treatments, because chemotherapy is poison, so you don't know how each person can react. And they got me back to my room and got me in bed, and I remember my oncologist coming in and looking at me, and I mustered out, I could still talk, but it was kind of hard to talk. It was similar to having a stroke. So my left side was out still. I couldn't really speak, but I did say, am I gonna die? And my doctor looked at me and said, I don't know. So that's when I did, a 1,000-yard stare, and I just said, this might be it. And I kind of accepted it. And I was like, whatever comes next, I'm ready, at 14 years old. And the next thing you know, my left side started to come back. And it was so weird. It was just everything was reversing. So the doctors were like, okay, they finally gave me the okay. They did a swallow test, which is to make sure I won't choke, that I can actually swallow on my own. And they said, okay, that I can eat my lunch. And this was within 24 hours of the first event. I was sitting there with my father, and I was eating a carrot, and we were watching Stand By Me. I will never forget that. I went to go swallow the carrot that I was eating for my lunch, and I almost choked. And immediately my dad looked at me, and I didn't choke, I spit it out, but I knew something was about to happen, and I looked at him, and he said it was mumbling, but I said, it's happening again. And next thing you know, boom, out. That's where I drifted off to the void. Apparently, I slipped into a coma, And then the memories are very scattered in this part, but what I do remember is the peaceful darkness. It was like being swaddled in darkness. And I had gone through so many cancer treatments at this point, and I was in so much pain. I mean, pain where I was begging God to take me. And I just felt like so good because I didn't have a body. It was just, it felt like it was just my mind, but it's my soul. I was still there, but I was swaddled in darkness. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up to, and it's all bits and pieces. There's one part in this where I woke up and I realized I was like this, like I have contractures from this. I've had surgeries to break the contracture. I have a lot of bone damage from the chemotherapy in general, but it ended up, I was fully aware and I was just crying and crying and crying because I couldn't speak, I couldn't move. The doctors tried to do an MRI and I panicked because the headphones they had put on me, it was static, but I couldn't tell them it was static. And they tried to bring a dry erase board for me to write what I wanted to say, but my hands were all like this, so I could not write. And I just dropped the marker and began crying, and I just kept crying because I realized, like, I am trapped in my body right now. This is terrifying. And then again, I slipped off into the peaceful void. So there was a couple visits to that peaceful void. And I woke up again to my whole family around my bed saying goodbye to me. I apparently had my last rites read to me. I grew up in an Irish Catholic family, so a priest had read my last rites. And when I woke up, I was still all there. I was thinking in my head, I didn't know what I looked like. I was very unaware of my body, but I was thinking in my head, why do they all look so scared? Like, what are they looking at? And I was like, are they looking at me? And then I said in my head, it's okay, guys, I'm gonna be okay. And sure enough, I came around. I had to, learn how to talk again. I had to learn how to walk again. It was a brain injury. And I still have, like I said, contractures from being in that vegetative state. But I realized in that how lucky I am to be walking and talking. And going to the peaceful void made me realize that we are the light in the dark. I didn't see the light, but I felt it, and that light was with me in that whole experience. And ever since then, that light is with me, and I have made it my mission to remind people that we all have that light within us. God is with us at all times. We are never separate from spirit, even when we feel very alone. We are never, ever alone, because the next thing, when I started to come back and I started to talk and whatnot, the doctors were like, this is a miracle. You're a miracle. We don't know how you came out of that. Plus, if you would have had that first round of radiation, it would have burned this methotrexate into your brain, and you would never have come out of that. And in that moment, I said to myself, we are not alone. It was divine timing. I was the next patient to go in. If that would have happened, I would not be speaking to you all right now. I may not even be here. After I healed and I went through the rest of my treatments, I still had a good 1.5 years left of treatments after I had the reaction to, the chemotherapy, and I was locked in my body. And I went through, I had to learn to talk again and walk again. And in that, I had brilliant doctors teaching me what to do to help myself throughout the rest of my life with these issues that I have, obtained from the chemotherapy. And that was such a blessing, which I look at that as such a blessing, especially as a nurse now. I learned from the best. But one of the most interesting things that happened after I had that near-death experience was 7 years later, at about 21 years old, I landed a job assisting the county medical examiner in autopsies. So that experience, that near-death experience, it made me so unafraid of death that I ended up assisting and working with the dead. So I was never afraid. I always knew they were in a better place. And I knew that I was helping their loved ones get answers to, so that they could move on. We're finding the cause of death and the manner of death and answering questions for closure for families. So I always sensed the spirits there. Oftentimes I was alone because I would set up before the autopsy in the morgue for the medical examiner. And then, the sheriffs would come in and the bag would be taped to a crime scene tape because it is a crime scene. It's evidence. Everything in there is evidence. And there was one case that got me so, it broke my heart. And I remember distinctly this poor man had passed away by unaliving himself because he had end-stage cancer and he could not take the pain anymore. And I had cancer. I knew the pain this man was in. And so we're ready to go. The guy's on the table. We're ready to start the autopsy. And as the assistant, I'm the one doing all the cutting. And I just hand the doctors the organs. So they're waiting for me to start. And I had sheriffs on my left, the doctor on my right, this poor man in front of me, and I just put my hand out on his arm and immediately got a flash of what he did. And it shocked me, and I was ready to cry, and one of the sheriff's officers came over. They saw what I was doing, and he whispered in my ear, "You need to let go, or you have to detach from this, or you're going to lose your mind." So that was a reality check for me because I really did. I will never forget that man. I say he is a soulmate that I met after the fact, but he reminds me to live life to the fullest. And I always share that story, and I've had it before where when I share it, I have orbs come through. And that's the thing. Once you work with the dead, I'm not afraid of it at all because I know that we go on. I know, there is a process to death. I was on hospice. If there's one thing they do in hospice, they make you accept death and what comes next. So I feel now working in the field that I work, even in nursing. So I did that job for 5 years. I worked in pathology for 10, and then I became a nurse. And even with nursing, I do a lot of end of life or palliative care type of cases. We're just keeping the patients comfortable. So that experience, my near-death experience, has shaped my life into exactly what it is right now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm grateful for the good, the bad, and the ugly, because ultimately I am where I've always wanted to be. And that is in a place of peace and love. So I realize I am 30 years out, cancer-free. The cancer never came back. I am a mother of my 8-year-old son, Declan, which is the light of my life. All I wanted to do with this life was be a mother, and I am here. And I am so grateful for this journey. I'm also a Reiki master teacher and a rose priestess. So which those two intertwine so beautifully, and it brings in, ancestral work with the divine and brings it all together. So I'm so grateful for the path I've been led to, but in this journey, I've realized that near-death experience was the initiation to the priestesshood. So, and, in my initiation, I got to meet all of my ancestors that were priestesses. So it's huge, but that experience is what shaped my entire life. The only thing was I was so young, I didn't realize, I knew I came back to help people, but I did not realize that I had to help myself too. And that took me years to learn, and I always help people. That is my mission in life. I know I am now a pediatric home health nurse for the past 12 years as well. So I take a lot of neuro cases because I was actually there, right? So I have this connection with these patients and their families. They are family. I look at all of my patients, my doctors, anybody, it's part of your soul family for sure. And I feel so blessed to be here, to be able to even, spread this message of love and light, because ultimately The light is within all of us, but we have to go back to the earth right now. And remember that we're part of the earth because we are going through a big shift, and it's the whole planet. And a lot of near-death experiencers are speaking up right now about their experience because we're being asked to share. So, we're being asked to connect on a spiritual level, and this is how it's all being initiated. It's so amazing. So if you would like to find me, I am Reiki Nurse Jen on TikTok and Instagram. Also, you can find a book, this book, Death, a compilation of transformative near-death experiences, on Amazon. My story is in here, my experience, and this was, such a beautiful compilation of near-death experiences. Yeah, but I hope you all enjoyed, and love and blessings.
How is this story meaningful to you? If you're watching on YouTube, tell us in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, leave a review and tell us there. If you or someone you know have a similar kind of story, please also leave that in the comments or send us a message at our website. Maybe we'll feature you. Visit NDE.com. Be blessed and a blessing, my friends.